Before we dive in, if you believe in love found in the most unexpected places, in kindness that changes lives, and stories that touch souls, then hit that subscribe button, like this video, and let's begin. The rain poured that evening like the sky itself had a broken heart. Cars splashed through the puddles on the narrow street of Eastwood Avenue, their headlights blurred by the curtain of water. Most people had taken shelter long before the storm rolled in. All except her. Isabella Cruz, 24, Latina, a single mother, and a nursing student clinging to the last threads of her dreams. She had just left her shift cleaning offices downtown, her shoes soaked, her tired body aching, and a cheap umbrella that barely stood against the wind. As she passed the corner of Maple and 3rd, she stopped. There, crumpled against a streetlight pole, was a man, soaked to the bone, barely conscious. His tailored coat looked expensive, but his face was pale, lips trembling, and the smell of alcohol clung to him even in the rain. She hesitated. Her toddler, Mateo, was with her aunt tonight. She had a warm meal waiting at home. She could walk away. But she didn't. "Sir?" she called, stepping toward him. He groaned softly, barely lifting his head. His eyes were bloodshot, but behind the haze of drunkenness there was something else. Sadness. The kind that seeps into your bones and never quite leaves. Without another word, she crouched down, tugging at his arm. "You can't stay here. You'll freeze." He didn't argue. Maybe he couldn't. It took all her strength to help him up. He was tall, heavy with muscle, but limp in the way only drunk men could be. She flagged down a cab and gave the driver her address. A tiny studio apartment, barely large enough for herself and her son. Inside, she laid him on the couch, covering him with the only warm blanket she owned. She removed his wet shoes, poured him a glass of water, and placed a bucket beside him, just in case. He passed out before he could even say, "Thank you." By morning, the storm had passed. So had the worst of his hangover. He sat up slowly, wincing at the light. The unfamiliar room, the scent of lavender and cleaning detergent, the framed photo of a young woman and a curly-haired toddler on the wall. It all came rushing in. He turned his head to find her standing in the kitchenette, hair tied in a messy bun, a tired smile on her face. "Good morning," she said, offering him a cup of warm ginger tea. "It helps with nausea." He blinked, taking the cup slowly. What happened?" "You passed out on the street," she said gently. "I brought you here so you wouldn't die of pneumonia." "You?" He shook his head, then winced. "You brought me to your home." She nodded. "You were in bad shape." He looked around again, this time with deeper eyes. "This isn't a hotel," he murmured. "Nope," she said with a small laugh. "It's called generosity." He looked at her, properly this time. She was young, bare-faced, beautiful, in that kind of natural, earthy way that money couldn't buy. And behind her eyes, he saw tiredness, yes, but also fire, strength. "What's your name?" he asked. "Isabella. Isabella Cruz." He extended his hand awkwardly. "I'm Julian. Julian West." The name meant nothing to her, and maybe that was why it meant everything to him. Julian West wasn't just any man. He was the CEO of West Tech, a millionaire many times over. Handsome, charismatic, and perpetually on magazine covers, and also famously single. Every woman he dated seemed to want the same thing: access, luxury. His last girlfriend left because he refused to put her on the payroll. He had grown bitter, cold, distrusting. Until Isabella. He tried to pay her for helping him that night. She refused. "I didn't do it for money," she said. "I did it because it was the right thing." He left reluctantly, offering his number in case she ever needed help. She never called, but he couldn't forget her. A week later, he returned to her doorstep. This time with groceries, real ones, not ramen noodles and canned beans. She opened the door with a puzzled look. "I told you." "I'm not here to repay you," he interrupted. "I just wanted to check on you." She let him in. That visit turned into another. Then another. Soon, Julian was spending every free moment at her place, playing with little Matteo, helping Isabella study for her nursing exams, sometimes even doing her laundry while she worked night shifts. He didn't tell anyone, not his board, not the tabloids. It was their secret little world. One evening, as the sun dipped below the skyline and cast a golden glow into her apartment, he watched her dance barefoot with her son in the kitchen, both of them laughing at nothing at all. "I haven't felt this," he started, then trailed off. She turned. "Felt what?" "This safe. This real." She smiled, wiping flour from Matteo's nose. "It's not much, but it's home." And it was. Julian started questioning everything. His penthouse didn't feel like home anymore. His expensive suits felt like armor. The women he used to date now seemed like strangers, but Isabella felt like a sunrise he didn't know he needed. He loved how she didn't care about his money, how she sometimes forgot who he was, how she looked at him, not as a millionaire, but just a man worth loving. But even fairy tales come with storms. One evening, as they walked in the park with Matteo, a photographer spotted them. The next day, headlines exploded. "Millionaire Julian West, seen with mystery, Latina and child." Julian's secret life. Is he a father? Isabella's phone rang nonstop. Strangers showed up at her work. Matteo's daycare became a media circus. Julian tried to protect her, but the damage had been done. "You need to go," she said one night, tears brimming in her eyes. "This was never supposed to happen." "I'm not leaving," he said firmly. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't want this kind of life for my son." He stepped closer, heart pounding. "And what do you want, Isabella?" Silence. Then, softly, "I want to graduate. I want a simple life. I want love that's not defined by bank accounts or headlines." "You think that's not what I want too?" he whispered. "You saved me that night, not just from the rain, but from myself." She looked up at him, her guard faltering. "I'm not perfect," he added, "but I'd rather spend my life fighting for a future with you than pretending I'm fine without you." The next weeks were messy, but love has a way of weathering storms. Julian gave up the spotlight. He stepped down as CEO temporarily, bought a house 2 blocks from her apartment, and for the first time in years, learned how to live without luxury. He waited as she finished school. He waited as she healed from the chaos. And one morning, just as the spring sun returned, she knocked on his door, holding Matteo's hand. "I'm tired of waiting," she said with a grin, and he knew exactly what she meant. They married in a small garden behind their new home. No press, no gold chandeliers, just love, family, and the promise of forever. Isabella, once a struggling single mom, was now a nurse and a wife to a man who had once lost faith in love. Julian, once a cold millionaire, was now a father to a boy who called him Daddy, and a husband to a woman whose heart had been his saving grace. Because sometimes, love doesn't show up with a diamond ring or a private jet. Sometimes, love shows up soaking wet on a cold street corner, with a warm blanket, a cup of tea, and a heart too kind to walk away.